there was obviously, I think, designed there. They were after both of them. It wasn't just a coincidence, I don't think.
Well, Gerhard Berger almost got mown down by his own car as he tried to stop the guys getting away with it. But there is his teammate, John Alesi, ready to come out onto the circuit. Wet tyres fitted to that Ferrari 412 T2, and certainly some tricky conditions. Well, you can see John Alesi going through the picture, waving at the crowd here already. Tremendous. Oh, and he's off already. He's straight over the grass, coming on to the start-finish straight. Well, we're taking a look back here at somebody else getting into trouble by the looks of things, and it's one of the Saubers, Karl Wendlinger, spinning, and you can see conditions really quite wet and slippery, and we've already seen one or two incidents, and this is a look at what happened to Pedro Diniz in the 40 Ford, and you can see really, well, just put on the power a little bit too early and losing control.
Well, track conditions are, I mean, I have not seen this track in the wet, but clearly it is extremely slippery. Heinz-Harald Frentzen going into a little pirouette down at the Villeneuve curve. Now, we've got Tim Kaluza with us, who is the Formula One man, insurance man.
I don't know what the race is going to be like unless the track dries out an awful lot, because I think a lot of the mud will have come up to the top.
Well, let's have a look and see what Eddie Irvine's getting up to. He wasn't very happy when we said Irvine into the gravel traps at Tamburello during Friday qualifying. Well, Eddie, should it be in similar conditions?
Aguri Suzuki is the next man to be caught out by the very slippery conditions.
And Schumacher now on a circuit where rain is beginning to fall both steadily and heavily, and you can just see how little grip there is.
Enjoying the new revised Renault RS7A, and that's one of the Williams getting into trouble. That's David Coulthard getting into a little bit of a slide.
It was down at the Ravazza corners through the first part now, and basically he's just in a straight line. All he did, I would say, is just get a little bit too much power on, but the car was virtually in a straight line. And in fact, Mansell, I was going to say second quickest, as we see Jos Verstappen proving that it's possible to spin a Simtek Ford just like everybody else. That appeared to be coming out of the Tamburello chicane. And I think it's the first time we've seen over the 4 days now we've been running at Imola anybody going off on the exit of Tamburello.
Well, Verstappen looks as though he's managed to get the car back onto the track once again. And remember, he's qualified down in 17th place. Good performance from the Simtek team once again. And there is Nigel Mansell. Oh, and there is David Coulthard on the grass. That's just coming past us on the start-finish straight.
Well, David had a go at that on Friday in qualifying, but in these conditions he's managed to get all four wheels off the track. Now, the reason I think that happened to Coulthard was that he may have allowed the car to ride up that white curb there. And once you get onto that in these conditions, that is even slipperier than wet grass. And naturally, the next thing that happens is you get the grass. But sometimes you get a little bit of bite once you're off the track on the grass and you can get back on. But you've got to be going in a straight line. Anything less than that and you'll be in trouble.
Karl Wendlinger and David Coulthard there, and they're the two footworks. Oh, and that is once again a spin for Olivier, the other one this time, but in the same place, Olivier Panis. Well, we're certainly seeing more spins in this session than we've seen virtually all of the races so far this year collected together. This is what happened to David Coulthard as he came on to the start-finish straight. Well, a very neat pirouette, kept the wheels, kept the gear engaged. Welcome back to the live action from Imola. We're just seeing Damon Hill also having a spin. Another one to add to the tally. We've lost count now of the number of cars that have been spinning in this session. And here is Jos Verstappen. Well, we've already seen him spin once. So look at that. A great bit of control. Nice car control.
All they're finding out is that this resurfaced track is absolutely impossible.
I think that one of the big questions, of course, has to be, with Formula One drivers, it's a very dangerous sport. How on earth do they go about getting life insurance?
Merely by paying a little bit more money than other people, but strangely, up until last year, which was, of course, a disaster, and here we are on the anniversary, things had been pretty good. Nobody had been killed for 12 years, and not a lot of people very seriously injured. You just pay the price for the risk, and it's quite easily accessible, although obviously things did go up a little this year.
Well, we just saw getting into trouble once again, Damon Hill having a minor spin, and there's another one. We just can't keep up with them.
No, I mean, it's just we've had Ligier spinning as the Aguri Suzuki, we've seen Williams with Damon Hill and David Coulthard in trouble. Michael Schumacher, the poleman, he's been off as well. We've got Eddie Irvine in the gravel down at Tamburello. Once again, Damon Hill, this is the second spin we have seen, and I suspect that's the maximum he's had to date, because one of the things is this I Spy camera all around the circuit. No one is being allowed to escape. This is the view that Damon had, or Damon currently has. This is coming on to the pit straight again. Back end, and round she goes onto the grass. Keep it off those tires. He has done so. And this is the head-on shot. You can see once, the forgivingness of the Williams chassis, even in these conditions, once the back end begins to lose traction, that pendulum effect once again just takes over.
It's really quite an amazing sight we're seeing here. We're seeing the best drivers in the world, and they're just all falling off all over the place. And I mean, you know, these drivers, they're used to driving in tricky conditions. They're used to the cars. By this time in the year, we've had a lot of wet running already this year. But what we're seeing here is really quite remarkable.
Well, apart from the track conditions, the ambient temperature is quite low. Gerhard Berger keeps it under control.
And Gerhard Berger being a little careful as he comes back down towards the pits. But again, you can just see there's just so little grip here.
The young ones have got potential for earning a lot of money in the future, and they need to protect that, and therefore they take out a lot of permanent disability cover. Think more about doing some of this for their drivers, because it is, otherwise they have some form of moral obligation, really.
Well, Michael Schumacher getting into trouble once again, but he has gone second fastest now. Did he keep it running? This is the next question.
I think is that in real time or is that in slow motion? I mean, I think it was in slow motion. That was a video replay. And this again down at Tamburello. This is the part of the circuit we saw Irvine off earlier. And again, just the back of the car. You can look, no opportunity whatsoever. Once the car began that slow move.
I know it's really quite modest for the junior drivers, and you wouldn't frankly buy a lot of insurance for it. I mean, we're only talking about something like $1,500, I believe, for the lowest form of super license, aren't we? And the average young driver will spend nearer £25,000 than $1,500 on his insurance.
Oh, and Damon Hill, all the gravel that he'd gathered in his car on that off-track excursion was thrown right in the front. Look at that lady coming onto the pit straight. That's David Coulthard directly behind him. But it must have been about 20 kilograms of gravel. Let's look again. This is down and into the Ravazza Damon. Again, a passenger. Now, one of the difficulties that we talked about last night to Roland Brunzerader and Jean Korschmidt, who is the race director, was also there, craning his neck to see what we were talking about. Cars should not be able to drive back onto the racetrack. I suggested to Roland Brunzerader, why, once a car is in a gravel trap, is the car then prohibited from rejoining that session? And the trouble is, there's no legislation in place to do so. But clearly here in Imola, where we've seen in the past 3 days drivers getting into gravel traps.
Again, coming out of Villeneuve, he takes a slightly tighter line, looking for the line which is not covered in rubber from the qualifying, gets it sideways on the exit of Tosa.
On that sort of, well, you can see here the line where there's a clearer and almost, well, semi-dry part of the track.
Heinz Harald Frentzen, I think now I can't remember if that's the second or third or fourth time we've seen this spin. I think it's actually only a couple of times, but each time he's managed to get it pointing in the right direction and carry on again. And this is Pedro Diniz, by the looks of things, in the 44. We've seen one spin from him already. Well, again, gets it together quite nicely, and the Ferraris are having to try and get out of the way.
It's the benefit of advice that he is there to do. This is Katayama's moment on the exit of Aqua Minerale.
Michael Schumacher third, then Mika Hakkinen, Nigel Mansell, the two McLarens both well up. And in...
Oh, big one from David Coulthard. Very lucky indeed. Look at David Coulthard. Lost it before the air it pops off. So the car that is covering basically the damper units, and that's virtually an extra third onto the time that was a dry qualifying time.
Looking once again at Rikio Katayama, the man we saw spin at Aqua Minerale, and well, I'm just going to say, John, the most remarkable thing is that we haven't actually seen anybody hit anybody else through all this spinning. Well, there you can see the times then. Jean Alesi fastest from Gerhard Berger, so the Ferrari fans at least will be happy. It's somewhat damp as they gather together on the hills around this very scenic San Marino circuit. And Michael Schumacher, Nigel Mansell, third and fourth fastest. So Mansell, good performance that. Fourth fastest, tricky conditions, first time really driving in the wet this year.
Well, quality has always been quality, and Nigel Mansell, the more time and more laps in the car, the better he's going to be. And really, Mansell did not get as many laps over this weekend as he would have liked, but clearly Mansell will be more competitive with more Grand Prix.